Alright friends, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a little more on this green 73 Dodge Charger. That's what I'm in right now. Got it running. First time in a little while because I'm having a little electrical problems with it. I still believe it's something with the ignition. But tinker with it, got it running. And I'm even going to take you up a road on it. And just a little bit more on it, a little bit of different information on it. And like I say, a little ride up the road. So I hope you enjoy it. And now let's get to it. All of them are working. Even has this odd style radio, factory radio, which has the volume knob and then the selector. It is an AM FM, which is something, even 73. Even back then, most of them were AM. It's got the Charger SE on it. It is a console car. Now, like I said before, I need to re-dye this carpet. It's in pretty decent shape. I'll re-dye it. But it has the slapstick factory shifter in it. And that works. Just pull it all the way back. Then you can, that's second, then it ratchets. And then third, and it ratchets, and that's it. It won't go forward. And push it back in, go all the way up. So you can pull it down and go into drive, and it's good just driving around. And you bring it back, and you got the ratchet shifter. Pretty cool.
Fire King.
See, last time I did it, it would get plenty of gas, and it wouldn't fire at all.
This is a mechanical pump, right?
Yeah.
So is it full off vacuum or fulcrum or?
Mechanical pump, it's got vacuum in it. But it was working fine. And this thing had gas in it. Just it wasn't fire. I don't know what the deal was.
No fire. That's not a problem. The problem is gas.
Go ahead and
So how do we get gas up here?
it'll pump it up probably. It's just been sitting so long.
So what do you want to do?
Open the doors and fire it up and take it out, I guess. Let it run a little bit. I don't want to take it.
You're starting to get gas.
I need some gas.
You're starting to get gas.
Oh, it is?
It looks like it. Try it again. You get gas.
sanded a little bit on the top. We'll get back on that too. Makes a lot of noise. I was thinking about pulling the mufflers off, but I don't know, it's kind of loud. I need to put a little bit more exhaust under it. Right now I just got like little glass packs with the turn down bolted right to the headers. Cranking and running it. Well, that was a pretty good little test run. Hadn't done it in a little while. It was fun. Never did get into the 4-barrel. I got the water pump belt. I slung it off last time. I kind of revved up a little bit more. I don't have them lined up quite right. I got to do a little something different on them. Put a different alternator on it too. But so I was a little easier on it, but I did get on it a little bit. But the 4-barrel never cut in. So she moved on pretty good then. Coming in, I thought I had a little more room on that paint booth door, but I bumped it. But I guess that's why they put these big old bumpers on the front of these things. Because they got mile long front end on it. I mean, good golly. And I mean, if you look, well, I have to have it from the inside. But if you look, look how long it is in front. How much longer that front end? That thing's got a front end on it. They probably did all that. I mean, look at that thing. That's a lot. They probably did all that for not just styling, but for NASCAR. They try to get them long and kind of sleek. So that NASCAR ruled a lot of the production on these old cars back then, especially Mopar. Of course, it was Mopar, Ford, and Chevrolet. It's really about all that ran in the racing. And this was the era of the Hemis. So Mopar did a lot of dominating. They weren't the only ones. Ford had a lot of good running stuff. Chevy had a lot of good running stuff. But Mopar was at its part of its peak. And of course, they were pretty much coming off of the Daytonas and the Superbirds. So they weren't real sure how it was going to go or how the rules were going to change. Probably another reason why it's got this front bumper the way it is, so they could pull them off and put a nose cone on it if they needed to or wanted to. But that's a good little running parade. Now let's see if she'll start again fairly easily. Now let's see if she'll re-crank. Like I said, I think I'm still having some kind of electronic issue. I think it might be a ballast resistor or a relay. It could be the ignition box where the electronic ignition plugs in. Had problems with them sometimes too. Let's just see. All right, now we'll just hook up the battery charger here. All right, well, it says it's hooked up and charging. We'll just have to give that time, see what it does. See, sometimes when they have electrical issues with the distributor knob, it could be this electronic ignition box right here. It could be the wiring. Sometimes they don't make good connection. Pull kind of tight. Now this is the old orange high performance box that I had, gosh, over 25 years ago when I built this engine with the matching distributor in it. It's Mopar Performance high performance electronic ignition. So I switched it all over to this. I never got a lot of running, but I did run it probably about a year or so on the little Scamp I built this engine for. But it, along with everything else, sat for, golly, probably 20 years or close to it before I put it in this car. So I just dug all this out and put it back on here. I might end up having to switch the stock stuff back that was on the 318 on here just to see if it's working right. Sometimes these connectors here, they'll corrode, or the box itself could go bad. And I don't think it would just go bad sitting, but you never know. With electronics, and it's sitting for 20 years, might have been putting it back into service, might have been a little too much for it, or it could be another issue somewhere else. Let me get you in here and get you a little better look at this. All right, so there's the high performance ignition box. And right over there, the little white thing there is a ballast resistor, a little white thing with 2 plugs. Now I have seen those crack. And when they crack, the engine will start when it's cold and it will run. But once you cut it off, the little block, I guess, separates from the heat and it won't start back up until it gets cooled down and the block kind of fits itself back together. It'll be just a little crack, but it'll be enough to where it won't get the connection going across it. And then this box is like a voltage regulator. So they could be issues too. Mopar has some crazy wiring, but could be this box. And like I say, I can put the stock one. It goes with the distributor. These two are the high performance stuff. And I will put the stock distributor back in and the stock box on if I need to. I'm gonna change that ballast resistor first. I don't have one right now, so I'll be doing that in a future episode. I'll try to bring you along for that. Now, as of this, I really need to get this video together and get it out. It's getting last minute. So I probably won't have time for the battery to charge up, see if it'll crank again. But you've seen a little footage on it running and going up the road. So I just got to work out a few little bugs. It should be back on the road. So that's going to wrap up this video on a little bit more on the charger. I will be doing more. I still have to helicoil the bolt in the alternator. Let me grab out. I got it right here. This alternator is the one that came off the 318 I took out of here, and see it has 2 pulleys on it. And so I need those 2 pulleys because we took the air condition off the car. So I got a single pulley on it now, which is the one I had with the engine before. But with the single pulley, it doesn't line the belt up with the water pump and the crank pulley the way it should. But this one will. I just have to use the outside pulley. But I'm going to get that on it, but the little tightening bolt, somebody stripped it out before I even got it when it was on 318. So I got a little helicoil kit. I'm going to drill that, put new threads in it, and fix that where it'll get tightened. Then put that on. I'll have to move the power steering back a little bit because I had to shim that up, move it forward to work your belts the way I have it now, which is, it works, but it's not the way it should be. So I'm going to do all that too, and I'll bring you along. When I do that, we might just weed out a little bit. So here's the alternator that I'm going to put on it. And got the little spot right here where the bolt goes in and it tightens up on the bracket. Well, it's stripped out on here because, I don't know, somebody had it before I did. Had stripped it out, and when I had it, I just snug it up as much as I could and then tightened the lower bolt. And it would do all right for a little while. Which that way I got the belts run. It works for the time being, but it's nowhere near right. As a matter of fact, I've slung this belt off. I mentioned that earlier. If you can see how it's twisted itself inside out, and it's made a little mark on it. It's not really fit for much, but I put it back on so I could run it the other day. That's why I didn't get into the 4-barrel. So I knew if I was going to be calling on it, it would throw that belt off again. That's power steering and the water pump right now. Now, the power steering just runs off a straight belt, like it has the alternator right now, straight over to the crank. And of course, the water pump, crank, and the alternator go on one. But when I do this double pulley deal, it'll work. It'll line up. So I'm going to get all that straightened out. I'll bring you along with me. But until next time, till the battery charges up, and we can figure out some of that other stuff, that ought to do it for this. So we'll get it all straightened out eventually, especially if you come back and help me with it. I sure appreciate it. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the views, the likes, the comments. Please feel free to share. And please subscribe. I really could use the subscriptions right now. I appreciate everything. I appreciate all of y'all that watch. And just hit that little button and subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you at the shop.